Grade 11, the second unit we are starting. But before I start the second unit now, I would like to inform you that I will, on the first unit, I will release summary plus questions, two types of questions. Multiple choice questions, just as trial, for you to see how much you understood and to be familiar with my questions also. I will prepare some 15 or 20 questions and release in a video next after the second, after I have accomplished this one, this program. This is the second. Today we are going to start the second unit, biology. The second unit. The second unit talks about one big issue, one big title, that is animals. The title of the second unit for grade 11, according to as far as the new book is concerned, is animals. Therefore, we shall start this unit. And biology grade 11, unit 2, animals. This is a very huge title. You know that animals make up. Animals are a group of organisms which make up one big kingdom. Taxa, that's kingdom. Therefore, let us first see what are the contents of the second unit. What are included in this unit? Of course, not everything about animals, because it's a very cumbersome or very huge title as a unit, let alone covering this everything about in animals in a single unit. Even one big volume book is not enough. Therefore, animals in this unit, the second unit, the subtitles include are characteristics of animals, the common features animals as a kingdom. What are the common features that unite animals? The second, invertebrates, vertebrate classification. One way of classifying organisms, I mean animals, is invertebrate versus vertebrate. This is also included. We will see what are invertebrates and vertebrates. The third subtitle, reproduction. Focus on reproduction in animals, except of course human reproduction. And under reproduction, it discusses about asexual reproduction, what asexual reproduction is, and what are the different types of sexual reproductions, and some examples. And the other subtitles under reproduction, animals reproduction, sexual reproduction. After asexual reproduction is briefly discussed, we focus on sexual reproduction with particular example on some sexual reproduction in some selected animals like insects, sexual reproduction insects, frogs, crocodiles, birds, and rats. And the other content of this unit is this one, the economic importance of animals. This is subtitle. Under the subtitle, the economic importance focuses on insects. The economic importance of insects, of course, it says animals, but from animals, insect economic importance, the two aspects of economic importance has been discussed. That is a beneficial aspect and harmful aspect. When we say economic importance, it talks about what is the importance of studying insects. We study insects because they have beneficial role, so we exploit that one. And they have harmful aspects, harmful aspects, harmful aspect. We have to know them so that we can counter their harmful aspects in our life. The other subtitle is 2.5, animal behavior. It talks about ethology, a branch of biology that deals or discuss about animal behavior, not human behavior. Human behavior is studied under psychology. This is ethology, 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 not ecology, ethology. Then under animal behavior, we will see types of animal behaviors and patterns of behavior. What patterns of behaviors are discussed. Then 2.6 talks about homeostasis in animals. Homeostasis, staying the same. Despite changes in the external environment, organisms must maintain a constant internal condition, constant glucose level in your blood, constant salt content in your blood or in your cells or in your body fluids, a constant body temperature, whatever. Therefore, staying the same. Homeostasis, staying the same, very important and delicious part of this unit. Homeostasis in animals. We talk about under homeostasis, we talk about thermoregulation, how animals with constant body temperature can maintain, like human beings can maintain a constant temperature that is around, for humans, around 37.5 degrees Celsius. How can we maintain despite changes in the external environment? The other is osmoregulation. How can we maintain constant water amount and salt in our blood? Imagine the role of kidneys in this regard. Osmoregulation, regulating the amount of salt and water in our blood so that they always keep a constant salt concentration in your blood and also water. The other is blood sugar regulation. Think of pancreas, how pancreas plays significant role in production of insulin glucagon to keep constant blood concentration, glucose concentration in your blood. The last is control of homeostasis. It stands control of homeostasis. Body with specific control mechanisms that are discussed in homeo terms. The last talks about, simply briefly, it introduces some zoologists in Ethiopia, renowned zoologists, animal scientists or animal biologists in Ethiopia. Therefore, these are the contents as far as this unit is concerned. Therefore, when we go to the lesson, when we go to the lesson introduction, we have introduction part. Before we talk about the subtitles, we have to introduce. First, let's bring the five kingdoms. The five kingdoms. These are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and last, we are going to talk about this kingdom. It's our kingdom. We are animals as far as biology is concerned, not socially. We don't call humans animals as far as our language is social language. Otherwise, if you are in a biological context, yes, human beings are animals because we belong to this kingdom, kingdom Animalia. And when we talk about this group of organisms, thus the group of organisms known as animals do make up the independent kingdom, and that kingdom is, according to the five kingdom approach, that kingdom is kingdom Animalia. Therefore, this unit talks about one big taxonomical hierarchy, which is known as kingdom. Which kingdom? Out of the five kingdoms, we talk about the kingdom that contains organisms known as animals, kingdom Animalia. Then, as living organisms, first, animals are living organisms, yes. Bacteria are living, yes. Protista are living, yes. Fungi are living, yes. Plants are living. All living organisms, including animals and all others, do share common features. All living organisms. What do we know about the common features of living organisms? Of course, the fact that all living organisms are made of cells is one unifying character of living organisms or biology. Unified. All living organisms are made up of smallest structure and functional units, cells. Beyond that, all living organisms, including animals, do share common features or common characters. What are these common characters? Imagine, these are the common characters. You see, these are the common characters. Motility or movement. Of course, we can say that there are some animals which are society. Generally speaking, these are the general features, certain characters considered as common to all living organisms: motility, movement, reproduction, sensitivity, reaction to changes in the environment, nutrition, finding food and using it for energy, construction, growth, reproduction, excretion, removal of metabolic waste, respiration, energy generation. That is thermodynamics. You burn or you break down glucose in order to produce ATP, and ATP is the energy currency for your cells, and grows. Increase in number of cells or increase in size of cells. All this can be put for easy memory. We can have this particular mnemonics. Mnemonics These mnemonics, you can take the first letters of this and you can construct name of a woman, married woman, Miss Narg. If you are familiar with this name, it's very simple to memorize. If you put this technique is known as mnemonics. Therefore, as organisms in the same kingdom, you see, now we have seen that all living organisms share the same common features. You see, common features. What are these? Movement, uh, reproduction, sensitivity, nutrition, excretion, and respiration plus growth. In addition to this, of course, we do share genetic material. All living organisms do have genetic material, which is DNA. Yes, we do share cells. Cells are also unifying units. In this regard, viruses are not included under the five kingdom approach. They are not considered as organisms or living things. They are half living, half non-living. Therefore, when we see animals, now we bring animals. And therefore, why do we put these organisms known as animals under one kingdom? Because they share common features, common characters. They share common characters. What are these common characters? You are required to know these common characters. If you are asked to list 5 or 3 or 4 common features or characters that animals share, common characters of animals. 1, multicellularity. Animals are multicellular. They are made up of many cells. Multicellularity plus the type of cell that animals are made of is known as eukaryotic cells. These cells are advanced cells, larger inside cells with compartment. They do have compartment like nucleus, compartment like mitochondria, compartment like Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum. All these compartments, small rooms inside the big cell. The cell is a big room. Inside that big room, there are smaller rooms. These smaller rooms are known as compartments, and they are designed for specific purpose. Specific purpose. When you say mitochondria, it is usually related primarily with energy production. Of course, mitochondria is beyond energy production. And therefore, if you are asked about rough endoplasmic reticulum, always is a place where protein synthesis occurs for export especially. And smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it processes fat like steroids, lipids, any sort of fats processed there. Smooth Therefore, nucleus, the government of the cell, the brain of the cell, the control center of the cell. Therefore, such cells with compartments are known as eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cell structure, and the cells lack cell wall, unlike plant cells, unlike bacteria cells, unlike fungal cells. Animal cells do not have cell wall. Therefore, it is unifying common feature. The other is specialized tissue. That means animals are made of multicellular, made of many cells, and many cells plus also different types of cells. Not only the number, types of cells are also different. So similar cells come together to form at least tissue. Therefore, if you ask the group of organisms under Animalia, at least they must have at least which level of organization? Tissue level of organization. At least. Of course, there are exceptions for this law. There are one group of animals known as sponges. Sponges do not have tissue. Scientists put sponges in kingdom Animalia because they have no any other place to put. Therefore, there are exceptions. These are exceptions. Primitive, multicellular, eukaryotic cell organisms, but they lack tissue level of organization. Different cells are working without organization into tissues. Otherwise, all other animals share at least tissues. Tissue. That means at most system. Tissue. Similar cells come together to form tissue. Different tissues work together to form organ. Different organs work together to form system. And when systems work together, they produce organism just like you and me. Yep. Then the sexual reproduction is what, of course, animals, there are some animals which reproduce asexually also, but it is not unifying. When we go higher in the animal kingdom, from the simplest to the most complex, asexual reproduction uh, will not be seen in the higher, the more complex groups of organisms like mammals. Okay, therefore, sexual reproduction is one common feature, starting from the simplest to the most complex animal. This is unifying feature. They reproduce sexually. That means male female gametes unite, form zygote. The zygote develops into embryo. The embryo generates, the embryo gives rise to an individual organism. And the other is a blastula. This may be unique for you. See, blastula. When sperm and egg unite to produce zygote, the zygote undergoes cleavage. Cleavage means rapid cell division. Multi-cells are produced. And these multi-cells first appear a ball of cells known as morula. The morula changes into blastula by the process of blastulation. It is when the blastula is formed that tissue can be produced. Tissue. If embryo that is obtained from zygote can become blastula, be sure that tissue will be formed. Tissue is common feature for all animals, Therefore, we can separate blastula. There is blastula means there is tissue. Blastulation. I will tell you briefly about blastulation process. We do have some section there. Then, when it comes to this process, let me further elaborate this reproduction. The process by which, the common feature which is known as blastula formation or blastula. Now, sperm and egg unite to form zygote. The zygote gives rise to morula. Morula is, here you can see this diagram. These are sperms. This is the egg. The sperms are released in large number, millions. They normally unite in the female's body, most commonly in the fallopian tube in case of humans. Then unification. Sperm nucleus unites with egg nucleus to produce a single cell, which is diploid. That cell undergoes cleavage, rapid cell division, without that much increase in size. Cell division, that is producing solid mass of cells known as morula, around 16 cells, morula. Then this morula undergoes a process known as blastulation to produce blastula. What is blastulation? Embryonic development, that means this is embryo. Zygote is embryo. Morula is embryo. Blastula is embryo. Blastocyst is embryo. Embryonic development means when this embryo is zygote embryo? Yes, exactly. What type of embryo? Single-celled embryo. Just this is the zygote that gives you individual animal. You, me, the result of unification of sperm and egg. Mommy's egg and daddy's sperm come together to produce one single cell. This single cell undergoes what? Embryonic development. Therefore, the whole process is embryonic development. Therefore, zygote is perfectly a single-celled embryo. It undergoes cleavage, rapid cell division to give rise to morula. Then the morula undergoes a process known as blastulation to give rise to blastula. You see, then you can see this. The morula then undergoes a process known as blastulation to give the blastula a hollow. Inside there is a space. In case of blastula, it is not solid mass. The inner portion of the blastula has fluid-filled cavity. That is the difference. This cavity is responsible for the formation of tissues. Tissues can form when embryo grows, develops. Tissues can form only if there is this process, please, blastulation. That's why it is common feature of living organisms. Formation of blastula is common feature of animals. Common feature of animals. Blastula, except sponges. Of course, sponges do not have tissues. And you can see this. This is solid mass, morula. Then it undergoes some process, cell division plus some process where the inner mass, the cells inside the inner cavity move, move towards periphery and leave a space, fluid filled space. This space is known as blastosome. Blastosome. You can see this. They have another diagram also. You see, this is solid mass of cells, morula. It undergoes blastulation so that it gives spherical mass. The inner portion is empty space, filled with fluid filled space, which is known as blastosome. The peripheral cells are known as blastoderm. Blastoderm. Therefore, when we say blastula, blastula has two portions: the inner fluid filled cavity, blastosome, and the surface cells, mass of cells on the surface are known as blastoderm. And it is when blastula is formed that we can be sure the organism can produce or form tissues, different tissues. Only when cells are enclosed in a blastula can they start differentiating into different tissues. You see, when there are different tissues, you can be sure there are different types of organs. When different organs work together, they produce system, and systems give rise to organism. You know this hierarchy of classification. I mean hierarchy of organization in biology. Now, the other features. Now we have seen some of the common features of animals. We have been elaborating on blastula. Some of the other common features of animals. The other is advanced nervous system. The presence of advanced nervous system. This one called advanced nervous system together with well-developed sensory organs or structures. Sensory organs or structures. The other is, of course, motility. This is also animals' common feature. Of course, we can take it also common feature of all living organisms, motility or ability to move. The other is heterotrophy. Heterotrophy means the way they get their nutrition for growth, survival, just nutrition, heterotrophy. Animals are heterotrophs. That means they can't make their own food. They can't make their own food. They are dependent on other organisms for their food. Therefore, they are consumers. We are consumers. The ability to ingest food. They heterotrophs. This is not, of course, exact definition. Ability to ingest food. No, they take in materials from other organisms. Just they don't produce their own. They are not autotrophs. Autotrophs are those organisms like green plants which can make their own organic compounds from inorganic compounds by a process of photosynthesis or synthesis. Therefore, animals are heterotrophs totally. We are dependent on plants or other animals for our organic nutrition. The other is size range. The size range starts from microscopic. There are microscopic animals. You believe microscopic animals. We can't see them with our naked eyes. Our eyes are blind to those microscopic, very tiny animals. There are worms, microscopic worms. They are still multicellular. They have at least tissue. They are animals. Starting from microscopic animals to the largest in our planet. The biggest animal is whale, blue whale specifically. Therefore, size ranges from microscopic to whales or the largest marine mammal. If we see the common features, remember please, you can be asked common features of animals and common features of all living, especially please take care of those common features. You have to know the common features that unify animals. When it comes to the major phyla, we have said that animals are organisms in one kingdom. Thus, next to kingdom, the hierarchy is phylum, plural phyla. Therefore, when it comes to the phyla, the different groups, subgrouping based on similarity and difference, in them we can have this major difference. But I have told you about porifera or sponges, also known as sponges. These are, of course, you have to just make a circle here. These are exceptional. These are not fulfilling the animal features totally. Or they are multicellular, yes, but they don't have tissue. They are with eukaryotic type of cells, yes, but they don't. Different cells, though they have multicellular, many cells, similar cells do not come to produce tissue. Therefore, this do not fulfill all the criteria here. The others are nidarians. Tissue starts from here. Nidarians, also known as Coelenterata. Coelenterata, the old name, the new name, the old name. These are the beauty of the ocean. They have with different colors. They may resemble sometimes even vegetation in the ocean or in the sea. Platyhelminthes, the flatworms, these are flatworms. Nematelminthes, roundworms, also known as nematodes. And the other groups of animals are this dozen phyla. Annelids, also known as segmented worms like earthworm. And mollusca, the soft-bodied animals. Soft-bodied animals like squids and octopus, the most intelligent invertebrate, of course. The other is Echinodermata, the star-shaped organisms, spiny-skinned or star-shaped organisms, spiny-skinned, like starfish. Of course, fish. The term fish is misnomer. Give a name given wrongly. They are not fish. They are in this group, Echinodermata. Arthropoda, the most diverse, the most abundant, the most successful invertebrates. If you like, animals. From the animals, these are the most successful. The second most successful are the molluscs. Okay, arthropoda, animals with jointed body, jointed head, thorax, abdomen, and also the legs, the antenna. They are jointed, interconnected body parts. That's why we call them animals with jointed body. And chordata. Chordata. This is not included in your text, but you have to know because we are talking about one big grouping of organisms, that's Animalia. What are there? Of course, these are not the only one. There are over 30 different phyla in kingdom Animalia. The most common, well studied, well known phyla are starting Porifera to Chordata. Our own phylum is phylum Chordata. I will tell you a little about Chordata. And therefore, we are going to focus on Chordata. We are not going to just animals. We are going to focus here on arthropods because insects are here. Also, there are we talk about reproduction of rats and birds and amphibians, crocodile. We are focusing here if we are talking about this. The other is chordates refer to an animal. Let me show you, just since your book gives a hint of classifying animals into vertebrates, invertebrates. First, we have to know chordates. Both vertebrates and invertebrates are included under this phylum. Okay, this phylum. First, we have to see what are chordates. You see, it is said that all vertebrates are chordates, but not all chordates are vertebrates, because under chordates there are what? Invertebrates. Therefore, we shall see what makes chordates. This group of organisms are put under phylum. Animals are put under phylum Chordata because of these three distinguishing features. At least in some part of their life cycle, they have these three features. One, notochord. What is notochord? Notochord is elastic rod-like structure of collagen, especially collagen, structural protein, collagen, plus cells rich in glycoprotein, a rod of collagen inside which there are cells stuck with glycoprotein, notochord. I will show you diagram. I do have diagram. The other is pharyngeal gill slits around their throat. During embryonic development, at least they do have pharyngeal gill slits. They call them gill slits. They are slits, opening. Therefore, all chordates have gill slits. at least at one level of their embryonic development. For example, in fish, the gill slits develop into breathing structure. Gill. In us, mammals who breathe with lung, the pharyngeal gills develop throat. You see, larynx, throat, which is part of the trachea, the top of trachea develops into. Okay, therefore, pharyngeal gill slits are found in during our embryonic growth time. The other is post-anal tail extension test. Post-anal tail is tail. Just human beings do have tail. When do you have tail now? No, you don't have tail now. But you used to have tail while you were in your mommy's uterus. You see? Therefore, we share with all chordates tail-like structure. The last now, what happened to that tail? What happened to that tail? Oh, the tail, the bone that makes that tail has been reduced, and now we do have 5 bones. The tail. Do humans have tail? Yes. Yes, during embryonic stage. And as we are growing, embryologically growing, those bones which make up the tail-like structure become reduced and fuse together. They fuse together to become the last part of vertebrae. Still we do have, and even we call it coccyx. Coccyx is part of your vertebrae. The last 5 bones fuse together, and they are the symbols to tell you that you used to have a tail during the embryo, or they are signs to the evolutionary fact that we were we were brought up by evolution from those organisms which used to have tail. Even let alone humans, even the big apes have just lost their tail structure. Now the chimpanzee, gorilla, orangutan, gibbons, all these are the great apes which are very much nearer to humans. They have lost it. They don't have tail. But the other monkeys, the other apes do have. To know this unified feature of chordates, notochord cartilage. Cartilage, just you can see this diagram. This is fish anatomy. Fishes chordate exactly. Now you do have this notochord. This is dorsal notochord. Notochord at the back side of our body. Notochord, it's a rod of cartilage. To this cartilage, muscles are attached. You see muscles, there are more muscles attached. Now the other is we do have these slits during our embryonic stage. These pharyngeal gill slits, and also tail, anal tail, anus, around our anus we have tail. Therefore, please, if you are asked what are the unifying features of this phylum Chordata, tell them the presence of notochord, and the presence of pharyngeal gill slit, and the presence of post-anal tail. Okay, these are the features. Chordates. All chordates share these 3 features as common. When it comes to the other further classification, you can classify chordates even into Urochordata. These are primitive chordates. The other Cephalochordata, lancelets, primitive chordates, and the most advanced chordates are vertebrata. Therefore, vertebrates. Therefore, what can you say? Vertebrata, they have backbone, a series of interconnected bones that run from head to anal portion of our body at the back, dorsal vertebrae. So 3 bones, interconnected bones, inside which there is what? Nerve cord, dorsal nerve cord, spinal cord. See, vertebrates are animals with backbone. What about this one? They don't have backbone. What about this one? They don't have backbone. So, what are these? These are invertebrates. What about the other invertebrates? Oh, all these are, all these are invertebrates. You see, invertebrate, 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 invertebrate. Stop here. Stop here. We can call chordates totally invertebrate. There are some chordates which are vertebrates. So we classify chordates into what we call chordates into this. They lack backbone. What about this one? Vertebrates. You see, therefore, vertebrate versus invertebrate. I think you are clear with this. You have to be clear with this. The criteria to classify chordates, to put animals into chordata, is the three features that are notochord, pharyngeal gills and postanal tail. The criteria to classify chordates is based on chordates can be classified into invertebrates and vertebrates based on the backbone, spine, you can call it spine, backbone, interconnected bones inside which the nerve cord runs. What do we call that nerve cord? Protected by this vertebrae? Spinal cord. Therefore, when we go to chordate versus vertebrate, I have already explained to you. Chordata means notochord, pharyngeal, gills, postanal. This is finished. Okay? All chordates have these three features. The main difference between chordates and vertebrates is that some chordates do not have vertebral column. What do you see? The vertebrae or the bones that make the vertebrae. What are these chordates? Which are these chordates which do not have vertebral column? Urochordata and cephalochordata, if you like. Therefore, we can say that at this end, it's possible to say all vertebrates are chordates because they share the three features. But all chordates are not vertebrates. All chordates are not vertebrates because when you say chordata, we have urochordata, cephalochordata, which are not vertebrates because they lack backbone. That's it. I'm sure you are clear now. Vertebrate, invertebrate. You see, from the kingdom Animalia, if you classify all animals into vertebrate and vertebrate, invertebrates are really almost 99% of animals are invertebrates. Imagine Porifera, Nidaria, flatworms, roundworms, mollusca, echinoderms or spiny skinned, the arthropods, from chordata what? Urochordata and cephalochordata. All these belong to invertebrates. Okay? When it comes to vertebrates, you can see these vertebrates. You can classify these vertebrates, all these organisms. Invertebrates, Porifera, Nidaria, Annelida, molluscus, all these plus Urochordata and cephalochordata from chordates. When it comes here, vertebrates are classified into these fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and your own class, mammalia. Therefore, you can have these special groups of vertebrates. We are coming near to humans now. 5 groups of vertebrates. These are all with backbone, spine or backbone. The first fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. According to, by the way, this is based on evolutionary hierarchy. If you are asked which vertebrate is the most primitive, fish. Which vertebrate group is the most advanced, mammals. Believe me, mammals in the evolutionary hierarchy. Therefore, fish, unique feature, they do have unique feature. You might have learned it in classification grade 9. Fish, when you say they are cold-blooded, their body temperature is according to their environment. If the environment becomes cold, their body becomes cold. If it becomes hot, it becomes hot. It fluctuates accordingly. They can't maintain a constant body temperature. That's why we call them cold-blooded. Of course, this is misnomer. Their blood is not always cold. Wrongly given name. Otherwise, animals with variable body temperature. It varies. It differs according to the environmental temperature. The other, they breathe oxygen in the water by using gills. They do have scales on their body is covered by scales, and they have fins just to swim in water. They do have fins. Then they lay eggs, or some fish give live births, of course, reproduction, and in water. The other amphibians, cold-blooded, some amphibians do breathe by gills. There are some. Otherwise, most amphibians use lungs, Listeria, lungs. They are both animal, and they go to water to reproduce. They come out of water to just fend for themselves. Therefore, amphibians, both dwellers, their larva lives in the water. Therefore, thin moist skin, scale like just they don't have scale. Thin moist skin, they jelly-like eggs in water. Therefore, they are cold-blooded still. When it comes to the reptiles, like the turtle, lizards, snakes, crocodile, and alligators, cold-blooded, they are still cold-blooded. You see, then they do have lungs to breathe. They breathe the air in the atmosphere. And they do have scales, bodies covered by scales, lay lasery eggs. Their eggs covered by not shell, lasery, hard, not hard shell, lasery shell. They lay eggs on land, either in the sand or by forming a nest from vegetation, or some even give live births. When it comes to birds, they are similar to humans or animals, mammals, warm-blooded. They can maintain constant body temperature. They use lungs. They have feathers. Unique feature of birds is having feathers, and lay hard eggs covered by hard shell, or land. Warm-blooded. When it comes to mammals, they are warm-blooded. They do have lungs for breathing. Hair, body covered by hair. Live live birds, and feed their young by milk. Mammary gland. They do have mammary gland. These are groups of vertebrates you have to know. Anyway, this is not, of course, included in your textbook. And anyway, you have to sometimes go further. I do believe in knowledge, in knowing. Whatever words knowing is, they say words knowing well. Know beyond your text. Go beyond and read. Now we will jump into the next portion.